matter where you wish to ride, it's always more enjoyable if you understand the relationship between you and your horse. So let's mount up and get ready to ride. Horses come in all sizes, shapes, colors, breeds, and most of all, levels of training. That's what we're going to talk about, is how you and your horse can do things together, whether it be for the show ring, simply riding on the trail, just pure enjoyment. The basics remain the same. So we'll start with the very beginning and go all through the riding phases, no matter what your horse or you want to be. After you've groomed and cleaned your horse properly, it's time to saddle and mount up. Approach your horse gently, firmly, and watch what's going on. Put the blanket on, so that's in a comfortable position, and next comes the saddle. Make sure there's enough air circulated under the saddle blanket, under the saddle, and the saddle has to fit securely on the horse's back. Not too far forward, or that will cause restriction, nor too far back, which will cause soft or sore back. Make sure the saddle is in the balanced position with the horse, depending on the horse's conformation. Always keep track, for safety reasons, what your horse is doing. Don't take for granted that the horse is just going to stand there and let you do whatever. Some horses are a little cinchy or resentful of the saddle going on at first. So take your time, make sure you don't just pull it up and cut off anything. So cinch the horse up quietly, firmly, move softly. Whatever type of a rigging you happen to have, depends on how you will tie the cinch, so utilize however your saddle is built. But make sure the saddle is firm and secure, not too tight, and definitely not too loose. Then comes the bridle. Again, anytime you approach your horse, do it firmly. Don't hesitate, but don't make fast movements. Never lose contact with the horse. Keep the halter around the horse's neck, and then simply slip the bridle on the horse, easing the bit into the mouth, and then slipping the bridle over the ear. Some horses are very difficult to bridle, others are quite easy. So move quietly, efficiently, but firmly. The more you practice, the better you will become. Bridling takes practice. And then we're ready to mount up and get into business. Always stay as close to the horse as possible. Look at the head. Get yourself in the best position to mount. Step the horse forward so that he doesn't become cinch bound, always before you get on. There are two theories about the mount. One is to face the hip and get on in one fell swoop. In case the horse would move, the theory is that it would put the rider in the saddle. The other theory is to face the head of the horse and simply step on, keeping contact and watching what the head is doing to control the horse at all times. Whichever way you choose, the main idea is to stay as close to the horse as possible, be in balance, be ready to ride when you get on. The basic position of the rider in the saddle should be one of complete security. The rider should sit deep with the seat secure, over the crotch, not rocked back or not leaning forward, but secure in the saddle. The legs should hang naturally down the girth line of the horse, with a lot of security in through the upper thigh, down to the calf, where the impulsion aid will be given. The heel should be carried lower than the toe, which means the stirrups should be adjusted to allow secure seat, maximum freedom in the lower leg, but just short enough to allow the heel to be lower than the toe. The rider should be able to sit erect, look down past the point of the knee, and see the toe, with a straight line coming from the top of the shoulder directly down through the buttocks, directly down through the heel. That's the most secure position for all basic riding. The hand, how you carry the reins at this stage of the game is really immaterial, as long as your hand is sympathetic, and the hand should stay in close proximity to the horn, not with the elbows out waving, not with the romal out waving, but the hands and arms should be carried close to the body so that you can move freely and willingly. That's the basic of all riding seats. Everything the horse does must be done with impulsion. Walking, turning, even backing up is all done with impulsion, the basic ingredient of understanding how the horse works. Everything the horse does is with impulsion, combination of hand and leg. Backing is the same way. The rider sits deep in the saddle, uses the leg and the hand in unison. Always bring your horse back and keep him straight. Don't let the horse get in a habit of going crooked. Repetition is the way the horse and rider learn. Forward is with the leg, backward is with the leg. Combination of hand and leg, sympathetic to the horse. The first basic ingredient when working with any horse is to be smarter than the horse. Now, as clever as that may sound, what it does mean is we go back to the basics and do everything with logic. Logic means you have to understand how the horse works, form to function. So we'll start with a few basic ingredients, how you can interpret your horse's moods, how it will work, and why it doesn't work sometimes. We're talking about riding the horse and keeping it in balance. The rider, therefore, has to be in balance with the horse, or the horse is going to have to compensate for every movement the rider does. You understand that the horse's all impulsion comes from behind and collection comes from in front. The formula then is collection plus impulsion equals balance. When we have the horse balanced, the horse reacts to the rider through communication. The second ingredient, communication. The means of communication happen to be through the rider's hand and through the leg, coupled with the seat in the saddle and the rider's body position. So the two aids are given, the hand aid for collection, the leg aid for impulsion, the two coming together being balanced. Now the horse has certain things that he tells you when he doesn't want to be in balance. The first place a horse tires is in the back. What the horse does when the horse starts to get tired a little bit in the back is he raises his pole up so he can escape and lower the back. When a horse starts to elevate the pole, we want to stop and do nothing. Let the horse have some air, let him breathe, let him relax. So the first place we start to work with the horse is teaching it, continually doing it, and that is to stand quietly, so that whenever we get to a point of wanting the horse to relax, we can simply ask the horse to relax, communicating the fact that there is no more stress, no pressure, relax under any circumstance. The horse has a couple of ways of demonstrating when he is falling out of position or out of balance. The horse communicates with his ears and with his tail. When a horse starts to get a little signs of duress, starts to rebel a little bit, he usually communicates by putting his ears back or switching the tail. What happens, though, in those particular times is that the horse's body is out of alignment. We want the horse's body to be in a straight line through all maneuvers except, naturally, our bending maneuvers. The horse's body should be in a straight line from his shoulder to his hip. Now, the horse tells you through his head when the body is out of alignment. The mouth is simply a tattletale to tell you what the rest of the body is doing. That's where we get light hands, communication. The horse communicates to the rider as well as the rider communicates to the horse. If the horse moves his head to the right and locks up or gets tense through the jawline, that simply means that the hip on the opposite side is moving out and the horse is out of balance. So the rider, instead of trying to rein the horse back and forth, would use the leg aid to move the body back in line. These are little things that as we continue to ride the horse, I will point out to you as we go. The other thing is that after the horse has stood still for a long period of time, don't try to just ride straight forward. Ask the horse to move off a little bit to one side or the other to allow him to regain his balance where he has softened from standing still. So Ann, if I could just ask you to just ride right off there to the left, and we'll just start right out at the walk. As you ask the horse to walk off, make sure you stay in balance with the horse, sitting square in the saddle, upright, in the position, equal pressure on each side to keep the horse's body straight. Walk is the most important ingredient. No matter whether the horse is a young horse with not much schooling, an old spoiled horse, or one that's perfect, you can't spend enough time at the walk. Allow the horse to relax, to loosen up, to stretch his muscles, to make sure that the horse and rider understand the next command. You all remember that horses move in two different ways, into pressure and away from pressure. So the amount of pressure you exert will move the horse forward. The amount of restriction you exert keeps the horse from going forward, back to the balance category. So when you ask the horse to do things, every horse reacts a little differently. Ask the horse, don't tell them. Squeeze the horse into the next gait. Be responsive. When in doubt, use logic. Allow the horse the freedom to move underneath you. Don't restrict, don't force. Take your time. And if the horse wants to jig or be a little unruly, don't be afraid to come back and stop and stand until the horse relaxes a little bit. Voice commands are fine, coupled with the regular aids. After you've walked for a while and allowed the horse to loosen up and established your communication system, the next best thing is to do a few bending maneuvers before you even venture out onto the trail. Get the horse to listening, to responding. Ann's going to show us some of these basic exercises that you should do on a routine basis. From the walk, it's a good idea just to allow your horse to bend around the leg. So when we turn to the right, your horse may want to lean on the right leg, or you may push it off from the left, depending on your horse. Find out whether the horse works better into pressure or away from pressure. The ideal is just to allow the horse to bend around the leg, squeezing the outside leg to drive the horse forward. Always maintain impulsion. Always go forward. After you turned a few times to the right, engaging the seat bones so that you stay in balance with the horse, then try it to the left. Just make a couple of circles. This gets the horse bending, listening, supple. If the horse wants to resist a little bit without crowding or hitting it or anything, you might want to take a rein in each hand and just raise up and take a rein in each hand and just gently pull the horse's head around like that, just to get it back in the body sequence. All right, turn to the right now, just easy. We want the horse to follow his nose, keeping the body straight, and the rider should stay upright in balance with the horse without looking down. Turning left, move the right leg back a little and squeeze. Turning right, the left leg back slightly and exert pressure. Allow the horse to get comfortable in the bridle. Set the head. Now notice when the horse is ready to go to the next phase, the ears will come up. When we first start to do something or first start to handle, if you notice the ears kind of went back. As we relax the horse to go forward into the next phase, the ears start to work. The horse tells us when it's ready to go on, either on the trail, in the show ring, or simply to the next training position. When working around horses, always think soft, be firm, but think soft. The next progression is to go right into the more advanced maneuvers, and that being the first one happens to be the jog trot, which is again maintaining impulsion. Ann's going to show us about getting into the jog from the walk. Being that the jog is an impulsion moving forward gait, we want to relax the hand, engage the seat bones to drive the horse forward. The legs being that gives the impulsion signal. Every horse requires a little more or a little less in the leg egg department. Don't take your legs away and slap the sides and kick, but squeeze. Relax the hand, get communication with the mouth established before you ask for the jog, then squeeze the leg, cluck a little bit if you want, but drive the horse's hindquarters forward, maintaining your balance with the horse. Then once you get into the jog, relax in the saddle, go with the motion of the horse, let the horse set his head in your hand. Don't pull back on the reins, drive the horse forward from behind. The jog is a nice diagonal 2-beat gait, and the rider sits up straight with the eyes preceding every movement. Don't look down. Look where you're going, sit up straight, elegant, tall in the saddle. Now, as you get going around in the jog, when you take the pressure away, as Ann just did, the horse fell out of form or quit jogging, came back to the walk. So you must maintain whatever contact you feel is necessary to keep the horse at the jog you desire. If the horse wants to flip his nose up, that means you activate a little more leg. Get the horse moving light in the head, light to the rein, light with the rider's hand. Very good, Ann. Right in the middle of the saddle. Stay balanced with the horse, and don't worry if the horse falls out of gear. All horses don't perform perfectly every time. They are not mechanical. So if the horse does fall out of gear, don't get rattled, panicky, or punish. Simply relax and go back to the beginning. If the horse starts to get nervous or rattled, come back to the point where you stop and stand, walk a little while, then ease into the trot. Always work on the horse's balance, which means his body is straight from the point of the shoulder to the hip. The head is inclined slightly to the inside at the turn, and the horse is happy doing what he's doing. If the horse becomes unhappy, stop and go back to the beginning. Probably the most difficult maneuver for any beginner is getting into, maintaining, and feeling comfortable in the lope. The lope is a 3-beat gait done with grace and rhythm, but it takes a little more finesse to have it be smooth and rhythmic. Ann, why don't you show us a little bit about getting into the lope? The principles are the same. We use the leg in unison with how the horse requires the pressure to be given. When we want the horse to lope on the left lead, we will engage the right leg, pushing the horse to the left side. Keep the head straight and allow the horse to lope on the left lead, meaning his left foreleg and his left hind leg extend farther than the right. Whether you're actually going to show or just riding for pleasure, we always want the horse to be balanced. So when he's going to the left, he should be on the left lead, both in front and behind. Now, people get in trouble because when the horse starts to lope, sometimes they pick up speed. Don't worry about the speed. Allow the horse to come back to himself. Don't start pulling on the reins. Allow the horse to take a few steps, maybe at a little more rapid pace than you desire. Don't lean forward, but drop your shoulders back. Put your heels down. We want your heels down always when riding. Your shoulders back, your eyes and head up, looking where you're going. And if the horse is going a little too rapidly, drop back behind the motion. Don't lead forward in front of the motion. The horse will settle down and find his own speed. If the horse gets a little rambunctious, stop and start all over again. Come back to the trot and start all over again. Always think soften rather than go forward. Don't worry if the horse breaks. Allow the horse to continue around. Then as you get comfortable, start making some circles. Go ahead, Ann, and just make some circles right there to the left. Stay to the left. Now you want the horse to move around your left shoulder. If he breaks, give him a little more urge to go forward. Keep your left shoulder back, straight in the saddle, and let the horse move around you. Now back on the rail, circle a few times, and then back on the rail. Many transitions make you a better rider and make your horse more comfortable. Do things. Don't just sit there and freeze and brace against the horse. Actually let the horse move under you. Now when you come back to the walk from the lope, simply settle down in the saddle, take the leg aid all away, drop your shoulders back, take a little more hold of the rein, and say, whoa. Then allow the horse to walk a little ways. Don't be in a big hurry to go to the other transition. If you need to put two hands on the reins to settle, go ahead and do that. Now, if your horse wants to trot a little bit into the lope, don't worry about it. Don't feel you have to crowd him. Allow the horse to be happy and comfortable. Going to the right, you're going to be on the right lead, where the right foreleg and the right hind leg extend farther than the left. We want both the right hind and the right fore to be on the proper lead. They will be extended farther than the left. The horse will set his own head if you do nothing. Ride the horse from behind. Impulsion comes from behind and the lope comes from behind. Don't lean forward and chase the horse into the lope. Rather drop down in the saddle, pick up on the reins, and then lope. When you're in the lope, sit up straight, tall in the saddle, eyes preceding every movement, the legs hanging close to the horse, depending on the amount of pressure you need to exert, the heels down, which means the toes are up, and the hand soft in communication with the horse's mouth. When the horse is in balance, the ears will go forward. When the horse is out of balance, the ears will go back. So from your position on the horse, look to see what the ears are doing. This horse is starting to back off and needs a little more to keep him going. When the horse has the correct amount of impulsion and the correct amount of collection, the ears go forward, like that. Then the horse is balanced. The horse will tell you everything he's going to do if you pay attention to the ears and the tail. When you change direction, the horse should change the lead. You can come back to a walk or to a trot, but simply change your direction, squeeze the horse forward, apply the required pressure, and canter or lope the other way. We're not going to get into the actual flying lead change maneuvers because that's much more sophisticated. But anytime you change direction, the horse should also change leads to be balanced. So keep working with it. Don't panic if the horse gets a little confused, but try to make sure that you come back to the walk, come back to the trot, until the horse completes getting into the other lead. Good. Don't get mad at the horse. Don't let the horse get mad at you, but change direction with the horse coming back to you. Very good. Comfortable, happy, and you learn to stay in balance with the horse. When you're in balance with the horse will perform. Now the horse cross-cantered a little ways, but the rider did not panic. She is getting back with the horse. If you have a fence, the fence can be an aid. The horse must have his body. See, the horse that time had the body in the reverse arc. Now she put the body back with the hip and the shoulder in a straight line, making it easy for the horse to pick up the proper lead. If the horse is out of balance, it cannot pick up the proper lead. The key to all horsemanship is to put the rider in balance with the horse, whether you're in an arena, in an open field, or simply riding out on the trail. Communication and balance is the key. Always come back to the walk. Spend more time at the walk than any other maneuver until you're comfortable going forward. When you come back to the walk, that is a recessive movement. It's taking away all pressure, taking away all aid, softening. Think soft, but be firm. Allow the horse to walk freely and often. Anytime a horse starts to get tense, they run out of air. A horse cannot perform when he does not have air. So if your horse starts to get a little rattled at any gait, come back to the walk or stop and let the horse regain his air. Most of the time you don't have a nice arena to work in, but any enclosure will do. Before you start to venture out into the wide open country, it's best to go through the basic maneuvers just like we showed in some kind of enclosure or a place that you feel comfortable and your horse feels comfortable working in. When you ride on the trail, the basics are just the same. You want your horse to be balanced, in motion with the rider, so that you can have a comfortable ride. When you ride naturally on the trail, you probably walk more than any other thing, same as what we talked about in the arena. However, when you do come to an incline or go up the hill, the same basic body positions hold true. This is the time that you allow your horse to move underneath you by leaning a little forward to allow the horse going up the hill to be a little more free moving. By the same token, going down the hill, you would do just the opposite. You would lean back just slightly to allow the horse the freedom to balance and get his hindquarter set under it. Whatever you do, keep the horse's body in a straight line. Watch the ears to make sure the horse isn't showing duress. Make sure the horse's head does not come up, showing you that the back is getting tired. Keep the horse comfortable. Stop often. Let him get his air, just like we did in the arena. Enjoy a nice leisurely ride out on the trail. However, from a safety standpoint, always stay as close to the horse as possible. Horses will spook, shy, bolt at many unforeseen things. If you're not in balance with the horse will leave you on the trail. Stay as close to the horse as possible. Leg contact, hand contact, pay attention to what you're doing, your eyes preceding everything you're doing, body upright, head up, heels down, and then lean forward a little bit going up the hill, drop back a little bit going down the hill. Be in balance, in motion with your horse, and your ride will be enjoyable. Horses learn very quickly where they live, whether it's in a corral or a barn. You never want to let your horse get anticipating going home. Always walk to the barn. If your horse starts to jig or starts to get anxious, come back to the walk, even if you have to walk 2 or 3 times or go past the barn and come back. Take the time to cool them out, but you're working not only on the physical attributes, but also the mental. Never put your horse away under duress. Always keep him happy, relaxed, comfortable, looking forward to the next session. The dismount, like the mount, is done staying as close to the horse as possible. Maintain contact. Pay attention to your horse. Watch his head. Never lose track of what the horse is doing. Take the halter from the post and slip it around his neck, always maintaining contact with the horse. Then when you take the bridle off, you still haven't lost the horse and can take a hold if anything should spook him. Then slip the halter on. And tie the horse back up. Keep track of what the horse is doing. Pay attention always. Unsaddle with smooth, direct motions. Again, soft but firm. Don't make any sudden movements, no matter how well schooled your horse may be. Get in the habit of using safety and good horsemanship. Put your girth strap up so it doesn't hang in the dirt, as well as your cinch on the other side. Keep your equipment in good working order. Always check to see if he's cool enough. Means feeling under the chest. If the horse is the least bit warm, you have to walk him for a little while. Put your horse away in good health, clean, refreshed, cool. Don't take any chances with the horse getting sick. If he is a little warm, go ahead and walk him on foot until you feel back under the chest to see if he's cool again. Now that we've finished the basic riding the Western horse, it's time to talk a little bit about the history and the use of the actual equipment. The age of the horse, the amount of riding it's had, the level of training, as well as your ability will decide what tack you should use. In the very beginning, the historic Western horse, especially those that came from the western part of the United States, were started in what we call a hackamore. Hackamores are simply braided leather nosebands. Different sizes, different shapes, all with different types of reins. The hackamore is for starting young horses, and most of you may have an older horse that rides once in a while in the hackamore, but the hackamore is basically for starting young horses. Hackamores come in, as I said, many sizes and shapes, different cores, some more firm, some softer. This takes a skilled hand and a skilled horse to be able to handle the hackamore properly. Don't just put this on and expect your horse to respond and ride out unless he's trained for the hackamore. Hackamores also can come in mechanical type of differences with braided rawhide, all kinds of different things. The mechanical hackamore is not recommended for beginner riders to go out and use on a daily basis either. The snaffle is probably the best bit ever designed for starting young horses. As I said, the early Californians and the early reinsmen all used the hackamore to start. Today, with the snaffle bit futurities and as many reined horses as we have and pleasure horse futurities, the snaffle has become the means to start horses, then go to the hackamore, then into the bridle, or you may want the hackamore snaffle. But the snaffle is the one we always go back to with the basics. This is a plain round ring snaffle divided in the middle. Snaffles come in different types of cheek pieces. This is what we call a D-ring snaffle. Purely preference from what you would like to use. This one has little buttons on it for the copper is thought to give the horse more saliva to keep his mouth moist. That is a D-ring snaffle. This is a round ring snaffle. Another D-ring snaffle with a part of a noseband. You will find variations of all types of equipment. This is a round ring or a D-ring snaffle with a cavesson to go around the horse's nose with split reins, basically a Western snaffle. There is no difference from the Western snaffle to the English snaffle in the use of the bridle. The snaffle differences come in the diameter of the mouthpiece, whether it is a wire mouthpiece, a solid mouthpiece, double jointed, single jointed, and the width of the mouthpiece. You have to find what fits your horse. Your horse with a small muzzle will take a different size bit in all bits than one with a large muzzle. So fit the bit to the horse, not the one you like hanging in the tack shop. Snaffles can also come in shanks. This is a shank snaffle. The mouthpiece is the same, however it has a little shank. Your horse may prefer this. These are cheek guards. These keep the bit from chafing the sides of the horse's mouth. All of these little pieces of equipment are available. The snaffle, whether it be the shank snaffle or the round ring snaffle, should have a curb strap or a curb chain to keep the bit from sliding through the horse's mouth. You simply fasten it on in the same manner on the round ring snaffle that you did on the shank snaffle. The snaffle that we use today usually works best, especially in the Western Division, with a pair of rings or a running martingale. People have trouble putting a running martingale on because they make it too short. The running martingale should be loose enough to make a straight line from your hand through the martingale to the bit, not one that goes in a V. It should be a straight line. Keep the martingale a little on the loose side rather than on the tight side. There's also a standing martingale, which you could fasten this to something or make a standing martingale. Not recommended for the beginner rider, but nevertheless part of the tack. The Western bits come in a wide variety of types, uses, dimensions, all depending on the horse. This happens to be a small, short shank, narrow mouthpiece, small port. The Western bit leverage comes from the length of the shank as well as from the bit part up. The leverage is what you want to not overdo. You don't want a bit to underwork your horse, nor do you want one to overwork the horse. Find the bit that is comfortable to the horse, both in width and in shank length, as well as mouthpiece type. All curb bits have curb chains or straps or other devices that must be secure on the horse's chin. Reins, again, can be split reins, can be closed reins, can be anything that you feel comfortable riding with. This bit has a copper-covered port and is loose jaw. Most riders today prefer loose-jawed bits over the old-time firm, solid jaw. Today we find that most horses go better with a loose jaw bit. Again, a covered port covered with copper to create saliva, keep the horse's mouth moist. A cavesson can be used in conjunction with any of the Western bits as well as any of the English bits. A different type of a Western bit, curb chain and braided rawhide reins. Again, a preference of yours, the part of the country you ride in, simply your preference. This is more of a spade type bit, a little higher mouthpiece, a little different shank, a wrapped curb chain. This would have more severity to it than the low port, smaller bit. Again, the length of the shank, the size of the port denotes severity. You can't go pick a bit off of the wall and expect all horses to wear the bit. You fit the bit in width to the type of horse you ride, the more severe or the lighter. Naturally, we want to ride every horse as light as possible without the severity. Into the English division, the snaffle is still the basic of all bridles for English and Western. It is that bridges all gaps. However, a little more severity is needed. We get into a double bridle, which has a snaffle and a curb, ridden with 2 complete sets of reins. Takes a little more skill, a little more finesse, a little more practice. Comes with a curb chain and a cavesson. Again, an English bridle that requires a little more knowledge, a little more use than the snaffle. The snaffle in the English division also can come in a different dimension. The snaffle is still a snaffle, but this one could have a shank and be ridden with 2 sets of reins for security. We don't want to pull, tug, or jerk on the horse's mouth. The tack must fit. The tack must be kept clean. The tack must always be comfortable to the horse as well as to the rider. If you need spurs, the English type spur is a little blunt, no rowel type spurs. You can ride this with Western. You don't have to wait for the English if you want just a little bit of aid. The Western spur historically has a little rowel to it and a little longer shank to reach the horse a little quicker because you're a little farther away because of the make of the saddle and the leather between you and the horse. The bits, the spurs, all the accoutrements, again, should fit and be clean. Be careful on the Western bit that rust or deposits don't get into the cheek pieces that might chafe the horse. A sore-mouthed horse will not work in any kind of a bit. A good-mouthed horse will work in any kind of a bit. When we get into the saddle areas, first thing you need is a blanket that will protect the horse's back. Blankets come in many shapes, in many colors, and many sizes. The main thing to do is make sure that the blanket does not wrinkle, whether it's a folded up Navajo or an acrylic, whatever. Keep it clean underneath. Keep it dry after you're finished. Don't let residue and sweat and hair gather in there. Keep everything clean. Make it comfortable for the horse. There's nothing worse than a sore-backed horse trying to be worked. They will resist you in every way possible. The next comes the saddle. Saddles also come in a variety of sizes, shapes, trees, riggings, everything that you can think of. The saddle should be one that you can comfortably lift. A lady should have a lighter saddle than a big stout man. A youngster should have a lighter saddle that they can move and saddle and move around on, and all saddles do not fit all horses. The tree should be made for the horse you're riding. Nothing irritates a horse quicker, besides the sore back pad, than one that lays down on the withers and doesn't have a tree built high enough, and every time your horse moves, it scrapes his withers. Try not to ever let the horse get sore. The other place that the horse chafes is down where the cinch ring goes. As the cinch comes around on the other side, make sure your cinch is always in good, clean condition. Whether it's a buckle, whether it's a tie-on with a latigo, we want the cinch not to chafe the horse. No saddle sores make for a better ride. Then the saddle comes to the size of the rider. This happens to be a very small saddle for a small rider. A big man sitting in this would hinder his horse as well as hinder the riding ability, because he would be hanging out the back or not in the front. The rider should fit the saddle, or the saddle should fit the rider. Here we have a saddle without a padded seat. The saddle is your desire. However, we want the saddle to fit close to the horse down through the tree so that the rider can stay as close to the horse as possible. For riding in the English tradition, we have much the same as we had in the Western. Start with a pad, which is contoured and shaped to fit the English saddle. Again, we want the horse's back to be protected at all times. The pad should be clean and kept clean. This simply is cut in a different shape than the Western pad to fit the English saddle. If you're just riding for fun, just schooling around, you can use the Western pad just as you can the English pad if you so prefer. The English saddles come in as many varieties as the Western saddle. This is a very plain English saddle with very slight rolls, the kind that we see more often today. This puts the rider as close to the horse as possible. Our Grand Prix riders, our Grand Prix jumpers, where they want to be as close to the horse as possible, are using this type of a saddle. This is the traditional cut-back saddle, simply because this is cut back to sit on the horse differently than the other saddles. This is for the gaited horses and the saddle horse division, as we call it, style of riding. All basically have the same type of stirrups. You may have rubber, you may have offset. That's a matter of preference. The stirrups all come on stirrup leathers, which should be carefully attended to so that the stitching doesn't get ratted or the stirrup leathers don't break. Cleanliness will take care of that if you monitor the care of the saddle. This is another traditional type of English saddle for the hunt field. It has a deep seat, but it has definite knee rolls. A thicker padding between the rider and the horse, basically ridden in two-point contact. It has a pocket for the knee so the rider can stay out of the saddle a little longer going cross-country. The same basic style, very much in use today. And a plain English saddle, deeper seat, no swell, just an English saddle that has no other cushion, good for riding any type of horse. The English saddle, as the Western saddle, is steeped in tradition. It must fit the horse, but most of all, it must fit the rider. Saddling the English horse is no different than saddling the Western horse. The main thing to remember is we want safety and control. Allow the horse to know you're coming up. A little pat, something that allows him to have his attention focused on you rather than looking at another distraction. Never startle a horse or surprise him by just slapping the saddle on. As with the Western horse, work efficiently, smoothly, cautiously, but be firm. Let the horse know when you're going around the back. Let the horse know where you are at all times. No surprises make for an easier job. The English girth fastens with buckles, where the Western girth oftentimes ties. So make sure that you have in mind where the English girth fastens for your horse, depending on the size of the horse. Girths come in different sizes, so get a girth that fits the horse you're particularly interested in. Then after you saddle a horse, or after you tighten your girth, never tighten it too tight to begin with. Allow some movement so that you can tighten it again after you walk your horse a step or two. After making sure the saddle is secure, next come the bridling. Safety, contact with the horse, paying attention are the key ingredients. Undo the halter, let it slip out of the nose and maintaining the halter around the neck. The bridle can then be easily put on the horse. Let the horse know what's coming. Use your fingers to gently open the mouth, slipping the bit up between the teeth. The bit should fit secure with one wrinkle in the horse's lips. Over the ears, and fasten the throat latch. All the keepers should be intact. The bridle should fit the horse. The throat latch should not be too tight. The cavesson should be snug, but the bit, above all, should fit. Not too high in the horse's mouth, and definitely not too low, banging on the bars and the teeth. Comfortable for the horse. Then undo the halter. Whether English or Western, it's always a good idea to step the horse up a few feet and then tighten the girth again, making sure that the saddle is secure, and then you'll be ready to ride. In the English tradition, we always go put on a hard hat prior to mounting. Whether you're going to jump or simply ride your horse on the flat, a hard hat is an important piece of equipment. The basics are the same, English or Western. To go forward, we increase impulsion, squeeze the horse up into the bridle, don't pull on the reins. To go backward, we use the combination of hand and leg aids, equal amount of impulsion, except we engage more with the hand. Forward, we use a lot of leg and little hand. Going in reverse or backwards, we use a lot of leg and a little more hand. Whether you ride Western or English, the basics are the same. Good horsemanship depends on the knowledge you have of how your horse works. The walk, regardless of the type of horse you're riding, is the most important gait you'll ever do. Before you do anything else with any horse, spend a great deal of time at first simply walking. This allows the horse to get relaxed, it allows the rider to relax, and it allows for you to rebuild a communication system of letting the horse understand what you want to do. The walk in the English horse, as it is with the Western horse, is done with rhythm and balance. Stay in the middle of the horse, keep close contact, be sympathetic with the hands, and sit upright. Allow the horse to walk under you without being forced, without being pushed, or without being restricted. If the horse gets antsy and doesn't want to walk, don't hesitate to just sit and wait. Keep coming back to the walk. Do not continue to do anything else until after the horse walks for a period of time comfortably. Don't fight with the horse. Don't pull and tug. Simply relax until the horse walks the length of time you desire. As with the Western horse, when we go into the trot, we talked about the jog in the Western division. We talk about the trot in the English division. It is given with impulsion, squeezing the leg. Now the difference in the jog in the Western and the trot in the English is that we want the horse to move a little more promptly. The rider is inclined a little in front of the motion. At the trot on the English horse, we want the rider erect on the Western horse. The rider should be on the proper diagonal. If you start off on the wrong diagonal, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and change. When you're going to the left, you are riding off of the right diagonal, which means you are posting from the leg that is next to the rail. You are down when the leg next to the rail is down. You are up when the leg to the inside is up. This takes a great deal of practice. You have to work at picking up the proper diagonal. Don't be afraid to sit a stride or two when first beginning until you can feel when that shoulder is moving or when that leg is moving. When changing direction, you simply change diagonal. You may either stand up for a stride or sit for a stride. Preferably, always stay close to your horse, so sit for the stride. When you're going around to the right, you should be down when the left front foot is down and up when the right front foot is up. So the rail leg is what you're posting off of. You're down when the rail leg is down, and you're up when the inside is up. If you don't have a rail, then you must concentrate on which leg is in which position. The sitting trot is done the same as it is in the Western. Close to the horse, sympathetic with the hands, back to the upright or vertical position. The legs maintain continuous contact, squeezing to go forward, relaxing to come back. So as you go through the transitions, the more practice you can have at transitions, as in the Western division, the better rider you will become. As we circle the horse, keep the nose just to the inside, but the body remains straight, no different than we talked about in the Western division. The hands maintain a light contact, sympathetic to the mouth, not pulling or tugging, and not hanging on to the mouth and restricting the horse. We want the elbows to be in such a position as to allow a straight line from the rider's elbow through the hand to the horse's mouth. Turning to the left, we simply shift to the other direction, sympathetic with the leg. Let the horse bend around the leg. Use the outside leg to drive forward, the inside leg for security, and simply do a sitting trot. Now if we could do a posting trot, and let's change diagonals and make a couple of circles each way at the posting trot. At this stage of the game, you just want to take your time and get on the proper diagonal. Don't worry about it if you miss for a ways. Going to the left, you're posting off of the right leg. You are down when the right leg is down. As you come through to make a change of diagonal, simply sit for a stride as you change direction and go the other way. So you are now down when the left leg is down and up when the right leg is up when going to the right. Practice makes perfect when changing diagonals. Sympathetic with the hands, a routine that should be done whether you're going to ever be in a horse show or not. We want to maintain balance with the horse. This is the easiest way for the horse to move under us and the best way of communication. Balance is the key. Remember the formula? Collection plus impulsion equals balance. Collection with the hand, moving the center of gravity back, impulsion driven with the leg, because the hind quarters drive the horse, to allow the horse to go in form and in balance. Secure in the seat, close to the horse, head up, heels down, the eyes preceding every movement. When coming back to the walk, simply drop into the horse, engage the seat bones, relax the leg pressure, soften, think soft. Allow the reins to slide through your hands gently. Don't just shoot your hands out. Don't just pull back and say, whoa. Don't make any movement jerky. Make them prompt but fluid. Keep the horse moving in a fluid manner. Anything that you do that is sharp will distract from your horse's attention and also distract from the way you look when riding. Going into the canter is done exactly the same way as we did with the Western horse. We pick up on the reins, don't chase the horse, balance the horse, and ask for the canter by increasing the leg pressure. The canter is the same gait as the lope, a 3-beat gait. The trot is the same thing as the jog, a diagonal 2-beat gait. Now you notice that the rider comes back to the upright position at the canter, keeping contact with the leg, sitting deep in the saddle, not leaning one side or the other, not leaning back nor leaning forward, and allowing the horse to move under. A change of direction requires a change of lead. The horse comes back to the trot for a stride and then picks up the other lead. This horse is now on the wrong lead. Change to the proper lead. Going to the right, the horse's right foreleg and right hind leg extend farther than the left. We want to keep the horse's body in a straight line as we did with the Western horse. The main thing to do is to relax and allow the horse to develop a speed and a cadence that it wishes to go. A simple change of direction, allow the horse to change his lead, either simple change or scramble for a stride or two. Don't fight the horse, and above all, don't throw your body back and forth. Keep light contact with the horse's mouth, never pull, never tug. When coming back to the walk, it's a softening. You notice no heavy pull or jerk. You allow the horse to soften. Going forward, we build up momentum from behind. Coming back to the walk, we relax the momentum. It's always a good idea to give your horse a little tender pat somewhere along the line. Talk to him. Don't be afraid to show affection when you're just getting your horse's confidence. Be confident yourself. Be secure. Practice. Lots of transitions, lots of changes. Always come back and spend a great deal of time at the walk. And as we said in the Western Division, never let your horse run out of air. When the horse starts to choke up, he will start to escape. The head will come locked. The hindquarters will move one side or the other. And that simply tells you that the horse is not comfortable with what he's doing. The ears will go back. The tail will start to pop. We want to keep the horse relaxed and free at all times. No matter what type of riding you're doing, whether it's in a nice arena like this, out in the open, or you just want to ride for your own enjoyment. And you always want to keep your horse doing it properly. Remember that the horse is happier doing it right. If you interfere with him, you're always going to have trouble, so learn to ride right. And by doing that, there's one simple basic that I don't want to overlook. It's better to do a little more often than to try to do a lot all at once.